Welcome back to Good Girls Gotta Heal, the podcast where we learn to release the weight of childhood trauma and step into our most authentic selves. It's time to ditch that good girl mask and embrace a life of ease, compassion, and genuine connection. Join me, Megan Walsh, holistic trauma therapist, and let's embark on a journey of healing and self discovery together. Let's dive in.
Welcome back, everybody, to Good Girls Gotta Heal. I am really excited for this week's episode. Today, we are joined with Shauna Brittenham Ryder. Shauna is a mother and entrepreneur dedicated to the empowerment and healing of herself and others. In 2019, she founded the wellness company Alaya Naturals based on the principles of holistic health that led her from a life limited by overwhelming ailments to founding a multi-million-dollar wellness company before the age of 40. Shauna, so impressive. Diagnosed with a plethora of autoimmune conditions, Shauna has cultivated a vast understanding of what the body requires to thrive. And while her focus is on natural medicine, she's made radical healing possible for herself and hundreds of thousands of others. It is Shauna's exploration of the world within that has cultivated true miracles. We love that. Shauna wrote the national bestseller, You Are the Boss of You, to empower people to take control of their lives and access emotional freedom that leads to creativity and abundance. And prior to founding Alaya Naturals, Shauna was a certified Montessori school teacher and singer-songwriter, collaborating with Grammy Award-winning artists and publishing numerous original songs. Shauna, I love all of these things because I resonate with so many of them, which we will dive into it. So thank you for letting me give commentary as I
I,
as I read. But I am so thrilled to have you here, Shauna. Thank you so much for joining us.
it's such an honor to be a part of this conversation. The work you're doing is so prolific
Oh,
and so generous, and your spirit is so bright and
oh,
beautiful. So I'm really
you
excited to
are
be
too
here.
kind. Right back at you, truly, right back at you. Wow, I am so excited to dive in. And I wonder, we have all of these incredible things that you've done. And I would love to start a little bit with, tell us a little bit about Shauna as a little girl and kind of your journey from childhood, what you loved and what kind of led you to where you are today.
Well, I would say that in my essence, I'm a free-spirited person. And
Uh-huh.
probably everyone is,
Yeah, yeah.
but really I tend to be more extreme in the sense that I really want everything in life to be distilled to its most core soulful elements. And
Mhm,
so as a child, I think I freely expressed myself through the arts. I was a singer. I love dancing. I love visual
mhm,
arts. I love all of the arts. Anything creative through which, the soul can be
mhm.
expressed.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, what happens as we get older is that we're told how to perform in a way that
Mhm.
achieves certain results or ensures positive feedback. And
Yes.
creativity can become dampened by
Mhm.
this need to perform versus
Mhm.
express authentically.
Yes. Yeah.
And so my journey has been one of repressing myself and feeling externally repressed and then busting out of cages kind of over and over again up until
Mm-hmm.
time and sort
Yep.
of continue to shine a light on the areas where I still to this day limit the scope of my potential,
Yeah.
and find myself in spaces where I feel like maybe I'm afraid to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so, looking back as a child, there's this fearlessness,
Mm-hmm.
that children
Yeah.
have fundamentally because they're not
Mm-hmm.
doing things for any other reason than to be fully expressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what I
Absolutely.
say in everything I do is to find that passion that's
Mm.
really motivating and driving in a very pure way the essence of who I am versus
Yes.
instinct to perform and please.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The instinct to perform and please. I mean, I think every good girl really identifies with
I'm
that
it.
so deeply. And literally, I mean, this earlier today, I was working with someone. We talked about the fact that of performing, right? Performing her whole life, yet feeling so alone, Like
Yeah.
feeling so unseen, but still like being the center of attention and you still feel so unseen and not attuned to. And so it is such an important point. And I'm so curious, what were the moments when you kind of recognized this pattern? Recognize that I am performing, I am pleasing, but I'm not being authentic. I'm curious how did those moments come to you? And I'm curious, what did you then do when you noticed, ooh, okay, there's something I need to lean into here.
Yeah, and I wish I could say that I had an epiphany and then the next day it was a clean break from all of my cages, but the sort of
Hmm.
reality of change and growth is that it's not linear.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
comes in stages and waves, and at different points of our lives, the next
Hmm.
layer of cages, is
Yep.
unearthed, and we need to excavate all of the remaining demons just step by step.
Yes.
So I would
Hmm.
say what's coming to mind right now, again, is that in my early 20s, I spent a year taking vocal lessons with a really,
Hmm.
really talented coach named Stephen Ham.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And what Stephen recognized was that I was really afraid to sing without being self-conscious about my voice. And
Yeah.
also, I sang with my eyes closed and very, very softly. And I have a loud, belty singing voice.
Uh-huh.
Only in the shower was I able to
Of course.
really fully let that sound out,
Hmm.
right? And then the
Yeah.
minute there were eyes on me, the minute I was on a stage, even a fictitious stage that I created in my mind, in the room with this one coach, suddenly
Hmm.
the volume turned way down.
Mm.
And it
Hmm.
was this real psychological prison that I was in, where I
Yeah.
felt like the moment I was meant to perform and that people would be hearing me and potentially judging me and providing feedback that was negative, I just felt completely condensed and restricted in terms of my
Hmm.
physical experience, my vocal expression,
Yeah.
and the joy and pleasure that comes with just, creating um,
Hmm.
from a place of freedom and joy.
Yeah. Ah.
So, what Stephen did was he had me do really silly things and really kind of like unexpected things physically while I was singing to take
Uh-huh.
me out of my mind and to
Ugh.
remove me from that state of being self-conscious so
Yeah.
that my voice was just flying out of my body without
Uh-huh.
reservations and without stipulations, without
Hmm.
conditions, without judgment or fear, which are all of the things that keep
Hmm.
us from expressing in our everyday lives, right? We put all these conditions on how
Yeah.
we move through the world because we're
Right.
constantly perceiving potential rejection or punishment
Hmm.
or
Yep.
judgment. And
Hmm.
without that ability to stop myself and edit and overanalyze, I was
Hmm.
free, but it would
Yes.
last for a minute and then I would
Uh-huh.
shrink again. And so this process of working with Stephen was really one ultimately of understanding that I had a real fear around using my voice
Hmm.
and being heard
Yep.
and seen. Um,
Totally.
and that I needed to really lose my mind in a sense to get back
Mm.
into my body and to get back
Yeah.
into the seat of my soul and own the reason why
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
voice and the reason
Yes.
I'm singing, which is to
Oh,
convey a story, which is
totally.
share a truth that
Hmm.
other people can resonate with. No one
Hmm.
resonates with perfection. No one is really interested at all.
Such a good one.
And
Yes.
so it's so ironic that we put
Right.
ourselves to this standard that in reality is completely boring to other people, right? Like, I don't want to
Yes.
hear a perfect voice ever. That's not
Right.
what moves
Right.
me to freedom. That's not what moves me to
Hmm.
passion. What
Yeah.
connects and reconnects me back home to myself is the
Hmm.
reality of another person's humanity.
Totally.
By
It's so
singing,
true.
I was able to kind of release some of that perfectionism
Yeah.
and just allow
Yeah.
my voice to be whatever it was that day. And as we know,
Yeah.
voices change from day to day. From moment
Hmm.
you eat a corn chip, your voice
Yeah.
sounds a little different afterward.
A little different.
When you
Yep.
have a hard conversation, you're a little bit
Exactly.
changed the next time.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it
yeah.
impacts how you interact in your next
Hmm.
conversation.
Oh, it's so true.
Everything is interconnected and ever evolving. And what
Hmm.
matters most, I think, is the freedom piece of knowing
Yeah. Oh,
you can always come back to center and be
right.
okay.
Absolutely. And how you actually have to practice that in an embodied way. Like you have to, I love that this was actually like held for you in the safety of a voice lesson, right? Like such permission to like, all right, we're going to let go. We're going to be silly because this is the work. And for your body to actually go through that and to understand the feeling of what it means to let go and to not be quote unquote perfect. Oof, and just literally how that physical experience translates to every other place in your life. And I don't know if you know this, but like my story is like the exact same around how singing and using my voice was the thing that like fully unlocked my ability. I
Oh my
know.
gosh, we have so much more to talk about. Maybe
I
off,
know. I was like,
off record.
yes,
I want to hear
yeah,
every juicy
totally. I mean,
detail.
yeah, I mean, this is why I actually went into music therapy first and like my original part of my journey. And I still use music in therapy with clients
I
today.
knew
And
there
that's
was a reason I felt connected with you.
Yep, totally. Right. And like I do music in my own therapy with my therapist. Like it is the safe container. It always has been. When I go back and I look at songs that I wrote, when I was a teenager, I look at the lyrics and I'm like, oh, honey, yeah, I thought I was writing about nothing, but I was really writing about everything. Like I thought it was all fantasy, like making it all up, but it just every piece of it really just expressed what I had no words for, to verbally express at the time. And so just to get that out emotionally, but also the more that my voice grew, right? Actually, the easier time I had in becoming more of my authentic self. So we are very connected on that level for sure. Because I'm right there with you. Like creativity. Oh, it is a huge part of this healing journey. It is how we reconnect back to our
Yes.
inner child, to be playful and to go back to that time where we didn't have the filter of how is anybody going to perceive this? How am I going to be judged or rejected? Right? We were just being. And that's right where we go back to the freedom
Yes, and
too.
I've noticed too that in a spirit of play and creativity and curiosity, the mind's propensity to overthink and overanalyze softens a little bit. And that's where
Hmm.
we can kind of reconnect to the truer parts of
Right.
ourselves, right? When we're not
Right.
overthinking.
Exactly, exactly. When we are just being and feeling. So this is just again, your story is the perfect example of what it means to do that embodied healing. Because I know we all like to overthink to try and maintain some control over the things that make us anxious. But the more that we let ourselves in to our bodies again, the more freedom we have. And the line of nobody resonates with perfectionism, I'm like, oh my God, had to write that down because that is so true, right? It's so true. We all want to listen to and see the underdog stories, right? The person that failed so many times and kept going, right? And the continuing trying and not getting it right the first time. I think that's such an important
And
reflection
also, I think
to
recognizing
make.
there really is no right. That
Right, exactly.
right is completely
Hmm.
fictitious and
Yeah,
self-imposed, and that it's really
totally.
a series of experiments, in
Yeah,
terms of what feels good and what the next
right.
best moment feels like for you
Hmm.
authentically on a personal
Hmm.
level. And it's going to be
Right.
different for you than it is for anyone else. And in terms of the
Yeah.
voice specifically, which is so symbolic, obviously, but
Hmm.
one day your voice, you might want to sing grainy and raspy and it's like
Hmm.
juicy and textured and multifaceted.
Yeah.
And then maybe there's a purer, more angelic tone a minute later. And
Hmm.
it's like all of that is part of the beauty of telling your story
Yeah.
and being
Yeah.
fully yourself is owning
Hmm.
the many layers of your voice. And sometimes it's
Yeah.
going to come out hard and fast, and sometimes it's going to be
Uh-huh.
soft and serene, and it's all part of you, and it's all
Yeah.
beautiful and worthy of being heard.
Oh, worthy of being heard. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope everybody can take that message in wherever your voice is today, right? Sometimes I notice whether my voice is, if it's a little higher, if it's like not resonating and vibrating in my chest, I know like, ooh, I'm really disconnected from my body.
Mm.
Sometimes I'll work with clients and they'll feel really tight, right? Like they're coming in like this. And I'll even notice, and like just based on hearing their voice, not even any content of what they shared. And I'll be like, let's take a breath together. Let's take a breath. like knowing, right, the need to open it up. And so I think for everybody listening, I would check in. Where is your voice today? If you need a breath, if your voice is resonating in your chest, really take that moment. And when we're speaking about the body, right, the physical body, tell me about your experience with autoimmune conditions and how that has impacted your life, your healing. I'm sure everything. I mean, I know it's interconnected to everything, but I
How
would
much
love to hear
time do
more
you
about that
have?
journey.
Right. I mean, what I've learned over and over again in different capacities is that if you aren't telling the truth, particularly to yourself, the
Hmm.
lies live in some part of you. The
Oh yeah.
unexpressed realities of what you're feeling,
Hmm.
what you've suffered, your experiences, what you hope and dream for, but are afraid to fully claim, all of
Yeah.
that lives in some part of you, right? So I was
Hmm.
diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 14. I was highly ulcerative. I had ulcers in both of my
Oh.
intestines and stomach, and
Oh.
eating became really problematic. And at
Hmm.
a time when I was coming of age and Kate Moss
Yeah.
was on the cover of every magazine,
Oh.
I was actually reinforced and rewarded by peers, which
Yep.
got sticky for me mentally and psychologically.
Yes.
And
Totally.
also, I was born with a condition called leukopenia, and so my body doesn't produce a sufficient. Well, it is sufficient because I'm alive, right? But
Yes.
I
Yes.
produce a healthy number of white blood cells, so I'm really
Okay.
susceptible to infection and
Oh.
disease. So
Yeah.
it's been tricky, and what I've learned is that the times where I am more well are the times where I'm fully expressed and
Mm-hmm.
really being myself and speaking my
Mm-hmm.
truth. And the times where I'm not well, um, I'm I'm suffocating parts of my reality. It's kind of that
Yeah.
simple. When I was
Yeah.
told that I had Crohn's disease, the doctor said to me, be aware that this will be a vulnerability for life, that there
Mm-hmm.
will be times where you're under, more extreme amounts of stress, and
Mm-hmm.
this could get triggered and you could become unwell again. And
Mm-hmm.
there are tools and there are medications, but just know that this is going to be kind of part of your particular life battle. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, I have been in remission since I was 15. I've never had a flare up. I'm 44, Megan.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so while I do have other medical issues that are congenital that
Mm-hmm.
are unchanging, in this particular regard, I actually feel like the origin story of my Crohn's was completely emotional. I think for me
Wow.
personally,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I was repressing so many feelings, and I was
Mm-hmm.
really forbidding myself to say or do
Mm-hmm.
anything that I thought would not land well
Mm-hmm.
in the minds, in the hearts of people
Sure.
whose opinion mattered.
Mm.
And it caused a lot of illness for me.
Yeah.
And really starting to ask hard questions, confront people about uncomfortable topics,
Mm-hmm.
allow myself to feel the whole scope of my emotional
Yes, your emotions.
life,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just living in a way that was joyful and committed to
Mm-hmm.
happiness, but equally committed to rage and grief.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Oof.
really empowered me to have that voice that
Yes.
ultimately was able to break through, right? Because
Yeah.
it's all part of the same story. Access the deeper underlying
Mm-hmm.
emotions that maybe we
Yeah.
unleashing
Held.
into the world.
I'm so curious, where and how did you get the support and the safety to express anger, rage, and grief?
It started in journals. I was
Mm-hmm.
almost like a religiously compulsive journal
Mm-hmm.
writer,
Yeah.
journalist,
Mm-hmm.
a journalist of my own life, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because in journaling, I didn't edit and I didn't use punctuation ever. It was all
Mm-hmm.
stream of consciousness. And what I found was about 20 minutes into writing, the truth began to kind of surface despite me,
Hmm.
despite my best efforts to contain
Yeah.
it, to contain
Yeah.
myself, the truth just leached through. And then with greater and
Hmm.
greater intensity as I continued to write. So I would say it kind of started in those initial pages. And then
Hmm.
at a certain point, I realized I couldn't have certain relationships with family members unless I confronted them and
Hmm.
asked
Yeah.
difficult
Yeah.
questions and
Yeah.
was willing to risk, frankly, the
The
peace
relationship.
and
Hmm.
yeah, and the cohesiveness of the relationship.
Yeah.
There comes that point, I think, over and over again in our lives where we have to kind of ask ourselves, am I still willing to abandon myself in order to maintain a relationship that feels safe?
Hmm.
And at what cost?
Yeah. And at what cost? Exactly.
And the
Oh,
cost was just too great for me at a certain point, physically, mentally,
yeah.
psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. I just
Hmm.
couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't
Hmm.
coast superficially in
Hmm.
relationships
Of
where
course.
where things needed to be addressed.
Yeah.
People want.
And I'm so curious because I imagine like this exact moment and experience is something that many listening will very much resonate with and connect with, whether they have had those hard conversations yet with a family member or loved one or not. And of course, so many people are afraid of letting go of the thing that kept them safe for so long, right? Until you get to the point like you did right there of I can't anymore because it's only harming me. And I'm so curious, what was the outcome? How were you on the other side of those conversations?
Amazing.
Hmm.
Because what I realized, when I realized at a certain point that I was choosing myself over the
Hmm.
relationship, it freed me. At that moment
Hmm.
in time, I realized I would be devastated, right, if the
Hmm.
response was negative, but I would survive.
Hmm.
But what I
Hmm.
wouldn't survive, what I couldn't live with, literally in my case, what I could not live with was secrets and
Yeah.
lies and
Yeah.
confusion and
Hmm.
a half truth, right?
Yep.
And
Hmm.
so I think at a certain point when you realize that you can never control another person's response, um,
Yeah.
and it's a very, very real possibility that you'll confront someone in your life and they will
Hmm.
be angry, they will feel
Yeah.
insecure or defensive, they will not believe you, they will shun you, they will criticize you, they will reject you, they will walk away, maybe in
Hmm.
some cases entirely for a period of time,
Right.
forever.
Hmm.
If you can get comfortable with that, then the sky's the limit in terms
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
experiencing a real deep level of
Uh-huh.
emotional freedom.
Right.
And what that
Absolutely.
requires is the ability to self-soothe, which
Hmm.
many of us don't have even as adults, but we certainly aren't taught as children most of
Yep.
the time.
No.
We're
Yeah.
taught to please mommy and not anger
Hmm.
daddy and
Hmm.
keep everyone around us happy so that
Yeah.
we're safe.
Yeah. We're safe.
And
Right.
we then evolve into adults who continue to please people
Mhm.
in order to not jeopardize relationships that make us feel
Right.
safe,
Hmm.
only to realize that we're betraying ourselves constantly,
Yeah.
thousands of
Constantly.
ways, every day of our lives.
Hmm.
There just came a point where I like literally was too
Yeah.
unwell to live that way.
Yeah.
And
Of
there have been
course.
different versions of that now over time that have played
Yeah.
out. As deeper truths continue to emerge,
Hmm.
I
Yep.
had to confront people
Yeah.
and say, this doesn't feel good. And at times I've had to confront myself and say, wow,
Sure. Yeah.
you're behaving in a way that isn't reflective of your actual desires. What's going
Hmm.
on? Not
Yeah.
and
What's
not
happening?
not confronting from a place of judgment.
Right. But
It's
I
so
hear compassion.
yeah,
Yeah. Compassion, honesty,
right.
authenticity.
Right.
Hmm.
And I think also if you're confronting a family member, a coworker, a friend, doing it from
Hmm.
that same place of compassion is really
Yeah.
powerful and empowering because basically you're saying this is my
Yeah.
experience of the situation.
Right.
I'm not making
Right.
you wrong. I'm not saying you did anything
Hmm.
wrong. What I'm
Right.
saying is I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
unsafe, or I feel
Uh-huh.
like I was not taken care of in a moment where
Hmm.
this
Right.
was a
They
promise
needed
that
you.
you, right,
Hmm.
that you can live to.
Exactly.
And so by kind of just sharing your experience, you take all the
Hmm.
onus off of the other person.
Yes.
Defensiveness
Yes.
softens, and then you can enter a conversation about experience versus truth, because truth is tricky.
Hmm. Of
Truth
course.
can be very
Right.
subjective. My version of reality
Hmm.
is very different from my parents' version of reality, and even
Yeah.
my sister's version
Of
of reality,
course.
right? Um,
Yeah.
so what I'm sharing is my version of reality,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
based
Absolutely.
on
I love,
how I processed this and experienced this,
right.
this is where I'm
Exactly.
a little off.
Hmm. I love saying that to clients with like, no, nobody can argue with how you feel, right? Nobody can argue with your feelings and expressing your feelings because that is your truth and nobody can tell you how you feel.
They might try to
And
shut you down
sure.
because it
Yes.
triggers a level of
Something in them.
and really
Right.
what I've noticed with my in myself is when I shut
Hmm.
other people down,
Hmm.
it's because I'm somehow conflating their criticism or their observation with my fundamental identity. So it's like,
Hmm.
I'm not a good person now because you're saying that sort of thing. And we come
Right.
from really the
Yes.
same place as humans
Yeah,
to
of
kind of also
course.
maintain our own sense of safety.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
so I think being really aware of like the very young child inside
Mhm.
all of the adult bodies we're talking to
Oh, yeah.
ourselves and going like, if this person is flying off the handle because we're sharing our version
Yeah.
of reality, they're
Hmm.
probably also conflating your version of
Yeah.
the story with who they
Right.
are fundamentally, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
But if we
exactly. And
share
they're
that and say like, I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm
right,
just sharing
right.
my
Totally.
experience of this moment.
Yes. And what you are sharing is, I mean, it is the most powerful place to get to, right? To be able to really have these hard conversations is to be able to like understand your truth so much and so deeply that you can actually see the truth in the other person. And I know for many too, right? Like early on in the healing journey, I've had, right? I know many people, and myself included, early on, who are like, they are a bad person, right?
Yeah.
They are bad. They've hurt me. I don't like them. They did this intentionally, right? And I think what is so fundamental is what you named earlier is that you actually really have to have that process of unlocking your own anger and your own grief to actually let that out, right? Because that is an unprocessed emotion that has to come out first that you need to give time and space for in your own process to get to that place of like, you know what, I can totally approach this conversation now with compassion because I understand, whoa, right? Like where that came from in me, right? Where that actually totally necessary anger, tantrum. Again, that it's so important to feel and to express. And once you understand it, you totally see where it comes from in others, right? It doesn't excuse any poor behavior in someone else, but it gives you compassion to know that like I understand that you're going to get really defensive and insecure right now and I'm going to let you know that let's stay here because this is about the emotions I need you to hear, not me telling you you're a bad person, which again is such a really important piece, a tool to take into any hard conversation that I love talking about connected conflict. Like how do we stay connected even when our opinions or our experiences might be opposed in some way?
And I think as humans, we have this tendency to want to put everything in a clean category,
Yeah.
including ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Which is so limiting. Like nothing is really
Hmm.
as easily organized and categorized as we'd like it to be.
Right. I know.
Frustrating, right? Because we want to
Right.
feel safe and we feel safer if we can define things and understand it
Hmm.
and categorize it, including people and relationships. And the messy truth is that we're all somewhere in the middle
Hmm.
and nothing can really be labeled quite as easily
Hmm.
as we
So true. I
it or
know.
them to be.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
and it's liberating on one hand, and it's also really scary because it forces us to be
Totally.
in the murky middle and in
Middle.
the gray
Hmm.
zone, which is
Yeah.
where in reality most of us live all of the time.
Right.
But when we
Right.
feel scared, we want to make something black or white, you
It's
know,
so true. Yep.
clean it up,
Yep. Ugh.
name it, and move on.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah. Oh, we love to name it. We love to name it. So much power and just being like, whoa, this is here, right? I am noticing this. I am feeling this way. I want to get curious about it. Oh, so powerful. I feel like you have so much so much wisdom through, right, through all that you have lived and worked through, and clearly, right, have had to approach and face so many hard, challenging conversations. I'm sure moments of growth. I know I have begun to learn that like, whoa, that time, the moment that I feel like, oh my God, I'm terrified of this next step that I know I need to take. And I'm sure everybody like has had that experience, whether it's the hard conversation, whether it's a shift in your work or something, when you know you have to make the shift and that like total overwhelming fear that comes along with it. I've learned to read that as like, yeah, I am safe in that feeling because I know what it leads to. I know it's necessary, right? To do the hard thing that my inner child is totally afraid of because it doesn't feel safe. But knowing that it actually, right, having the lived embodied experience, like you've named, that it does lead to more freedom and more aligned connection to myself.
Right, and it doesn't feel safe sometimes just because it's unknown. It's new
Yeah,
territory, and we don't
right.
have a
Oh, for
framework
sure.
for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a good thing. That means we're
Mm-hmm.
evolving and growing and allowing
Yeah,
ourselves to stretch beyond the scope and capacity
totally.
we've already experienced and the
So
parts of
true.
ourselves that have already been expressed. And we're
Mm-hmm.
moving into a place of expansion. But it's
Mm-hmm.
scary because we
Oh,
can't
yeah.
yet. We don't know what to
No.
anticipate, and
Right.
the anxiety of prediction then can sometimes
Mm-hmm.
take up a lot of space.
Mm.
We're trying to really foresee every possible outcome and predict every
Yeah.
variable that can go wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
while I think in some ways that can be a valuable exercise in terms of,
Mm-hmm.
making lists and all those kinds of things, it's not really
Yeah.
what gets us to the next place in our evolution, right? Like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
really draws the bridge, I think, and creates that opportunity for freedom and
Mhm.
expansion is stepping into the unknown and trusting that you have the capacity to figure it out when you get there. And it's just
Yeah.
like any
Yeah.
talking to yourself the way you would a child and going like, wow, this is brand
Mm-hmm.
new territory. I've never felt this before. I've never been into
Yeah.
this place, figuratively or metaphorically.
Right.
Let
Right.
me hold your
Yeah.
hand because you're
Mm-hmm.
scared and it's okay to do
Yeah. Absolutely.
that.
Oh, yeah. I have to share a story because I have a almost 3-year-old son. So I'm like so like just seeing, right, like where that molding has taken place for all of us, like in real time every single day as he is so learning his own emotional world. And we were actually at the park this morning and I noticed another mom, her son was maybe about 4 or 5, and he had like climbed this rope thing and then he got to the top and he was really afraid. And she walks up and instead of like immediately like being like, I got you, right? Like like taking him down. She stood with him and she said, okay, let's problem solve. What do you think is the next step that you might take to help get yourself down? Is it to put your leg here, there? And I was like, yes, like you go, mom, right? Like what a beautiful way, right? Of this, like, yeah, this is unknown. Maybe I've never climbed down from this before. But you know what? Like she is building in him the ability to say, you know what? I can problem solve, and I know that I have the tools to take this next step. And literally, when my son did the same thing, he got all the way to the top, and he said, "Well," I was like, I know what? I'm going to take a page from her book, and I said, "Okay, where does your
Yes,
foot? Where does your foot
yes,
go?"
use that dialogue.
Yes,
That's a
yes.
brilliant narrative. It's self
Oh no.
really.
Oh, it was so good.
It's empowering children to
Oh,
solve their own problems,
hmm. Yeah,
trust their own intuition and
yeah, yeah.
abilities, which is
Hmm.
something that, is really hard to do, even as an
Yeah.
adult. We're always polling people. And
Hmm.
I mean, I'm very much guilty of this often. I mean, generally
Hmm.
speaking, I poll 100 people and then don't listen to anyone, and that's
Yep.
kind of a running joke in my friend group. They're like, "Why are you even asking?" But it
My
makes
God,
me
my
feel
husband
better
would
when
say
I
the
think
same
about
thing. Yeah,
initial. Exactly.
right.
I interview 1,000 people and then I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to go in a different direction.
Yeah, let's do that.
But I actually do feel like it starts in those earlier ages.
Hmm.
And like you said, this mother didn't swoop in and save their child.
Hmm.
What she said was, you have the power and the answers within
Hmm.
yourself to figure this out. I'm here for support if you need me. I'm not walking
Hmm.
away and letting you cry. I'm not
Yeah.
even walking away and letting you figure it out on your own, but I am going to stand next to you as you
Hmm.
experiment with which foot to put on the
Yeah.
rope first, one
Hmm.
step at a time.
Yeah.
right? That's
Oh,
really, that's beautiful scaffolding. And what a
totally.
framework going into adulthood that child would
I
have. I
know.
actually have
I
this
know.
conversation a lot with friends about education,
Uh-huh.
our educational system, because
Sure.
I find it highly problematic when schools are forcing kids to memorize tons of things in really short periods of time. They
Hmm.
don't really retain it, and they don't know how to really think for themselves.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
the model of education that I really celebrate
Right.
is one of inquiry and one of
Yeah.
dialogue and conversation and
Totally.
problem solving and going like,
Hmm.
what is the next best step here?
Right. Right.
What
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
the
What is the
next best
next best
thing
step?
in life?
Right. Right. And that is my favorite like healing question for anybody. Is like just what is the next right step for you? Right? What is the next best step right now? Knowing that that will change, right? That'll change tomorrow. That'll change the next day. It's not like we're getting right making one decision that's going to be set forever. It's we're constantly returning to, okay, what is more aligned for me today? What is more aligned for me today? And anytime we just like continue to stay attuned to that, the assurance we will have that no matter where I go, no matter what is unknown, I know that I will continue to tune into what is most aligned for me when I'm there at any given step. It's
Yes.
such a powerful framework. Oh, I love it so much. And I feel like already need to have you back because we are I know we're running low on time. But I want to hear a little bit. Tell us about You Are the Boss of You, your book.
Oh, thanks for asking. Yes, I
Yeah.
published You Are the Boss of You in February. And
Uh-huh.
it's really all of the core pillars to how I personally accessed more of that emotional freedom piece we've been
Hmm.
discussing. So, softening perfectionism,
Hmm.
creating boundaries, advocating for
Hmm.
yourself, sleeping,
Yeah.
mental health, building your dreams, all of the things that we're really talking about now. Um,
Yeah.
I deep dive, chapter by
Oh.
chapter into
Hmm.
all of these areas of life. And then I created a workbook to accompany it that can be found on my
Amazing.
personal website. Just
So great.
create some actionable,
Yeah.
practical tools alongside
Tools.
the theory.
Oh, I love this so much. I love it so much. We are absolutely going to link that in the show notes.
You,
Be sure to share that so everybody can grab it and learn because I'm sure as you were listening, Shauna has so much beautiful wisdom and clearly you are such a beautiful example of what it means to be actively in the never-ending healing work, right? Of just continuing to
it
show up for
never
yourself
ends.
and your truth.
Fortunately,
Never
or
does.
I guess that's the good
I
and bad.
know.
Right? It never
Yep.
ends.
Never ends. Keeps
Just
on
keep
going.
arriving at the next,
Yeah.
series of questions.
Yeah, exactly. Series of questions and curiosities. And so, oh, I'm just so thrilled that my audience gets to hear your story because it is so relatable. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights.
Appreciate
We
you.
will absolutely have to do this again.
Please,
Because
anytime.
so yes, I feel like we just scratched the surface. I feel like there's so much more to dive into.
Thank you, Megan.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you. And anything else that you would like to share? I know we didn't even get to talk about your company, but anything else you'd love to share?
Everything can be found online.
Beautiful. Okay,
I,
perfect. We
my
will link it
company
all.
is Alaya Naturals. I
Yes.
think the reason why I am moving into the psychology of
Uh-huh.
wellness is because you need both, right? You need to take
Yeah.
care of your body, but you need to take care of your
Mhm.
mind and your heart as well. So I'm
Absolutely.
trying to create enough on both sides, physically
Love
and
it.
emotionally, to give people
Yes.
a fuller sense of what it means to be fully embodied.
Oh, incredible. I love it. Well, we will link to all of it so everybody can find everything that you offer. Thank you so much, Shauna,
Thank you,
for being
Megan.
here. And until next time, we will do it again.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Good Girls Gotta Heal. I am so grateful to have you in this community. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. That helps us out greatly. And we'll see you next time.